everyone, I'll let you see my shirt. It's my Golden Girls shirt. It's fallen apart, so it's probably the last time I'll wear it. So I already recorded this once and I ran out of battery. I ran out of space, so this one might not be as good. That's usually what happens. RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars Season 5, Episode 4, SheMZ. Right off the bat, spoiler. So right off the bat, I need to acknowledge how much I enjoyed Mayhem in this episode. Mayhem opened up, started to an Untucked, was it last week or the week before? I think it was last week before. Continued so this week, and I loved it. I love it, love it. So we're going to be having, you know, as always, I'm going to talk about people's performances. There's a lot of ups and downs, some criticisms, but I wanted to make sure I didn't miss this point because I don't want it to say like I'm rewarding honesty, like first of all, anyone cares my opinion, but my view is that that moment of honesty that we saw in this episode was a stronger connection to her as her performer than anything I've seen so far. So I want to say right now, right off the bat, really enjoyed this connection with Mayhem. I believe that people are looking for authentic connections, and when someone, you know, she even said, you know, I was real quiet in the first season, I tried to stay back, I tried to stay out of my way, and it's hard to when you don't know people, and I think that's what RuPaul talks about a lot, but we don't know who you are. Anyway, so right off the bat, Shea is killing this storyline of her, you know, she's on the top, she was on the bottom. Being really honest, I thought I would come in as a top contender, and that's not happening, but just being really honest, not I deserve it and people should just give it to me, but also not, you know, just being honest about where they're at. And I think that is why, in addition to Shea, that Juju is killing it. Every second that we see Juju is a joy. Just appear, I write her name, I put little hearts around it. This is someone that I want to go on a cruise with, I want to watch TV with, I just want to listen to her talk because everything she says is so present. So, and I think that's why she does so well in the improv challenges and the comedy challenges, is because improv is a lot about listening to the people you are around and reacting to them and being present in the moment. And she is fully present. So she is watching, and the other thing is, and I actually mentioned this a few weeks ago, I made a reference to something that Jay Carroll said in the first season of Project Runway, which is like, don't play the competitors, play the production. And what I took from that was that you don't get all distracted by these people, you focus on the production, and through the production, the viewers. And so Jujubee is saving, or when she's taking moments to connect, she's connecting with us, the viewers, and we love it, and people are eating it up and they adore it. I know I have very commercial tastes, okay? Boring, I know, I'm sorry, I'm very pedestrian. But usually if I react to something, a lot of other people are. You know, you could say that that's uncool, but there you go. I never claimed I was cool. So I am enjoying every second of Jujubee because she's really present and she's saving the observations for the interviews, turning to the camera. I mean, it's just such a joy to be present with. Let's see. So we start off, no mini challenge. The groups are assigned randomly. Groups are assigned, the roles are assigned, and it just felt to me like all the wind came out of the sails with this challenge. Like, a lot of people are talking about being acting challenge, another acting challenge, and that being the problem. But to me, it was more of the fact that they have so little ownership in the challenge. And even when they said, here's your brief, here's your inspiration, I was like, okay, they don't even really sound like the whole like Jujubee Cracker and Blair's pitch. I was like, okay. The Housewives one, we'll get into this later. I personally thought it was the only one that worked. But it was I didn't get the difference between the two characters. You know what I mean? Like, I just thought, and then the whole shoplifting thing, I kind of got that, but I didn't none of these ideas to me had legs, which is a comedy, well, I know it is a comedy term, to say, how far can I take this idea? Is this idea fully embodied in a tweet? Is it a Facebook post, or is it like an ongoing TV show? Is it a sketch? Like, there's certain ideas have more legs than others, how far they can travel. And some of these seemed like a 5-second takeaway. And I was like, I didn't really get it. I didn't see where these were going. I didn't see how a lot of the performances were connected. And I personally believe that part of that is because they were so pushed into a box. I would have liked to have seen the mini challenges in general. I've never said, oh, the mini, other than reading is fundamental and puppets, none of the mini challenges really make me do it, you know, change my mind or anything, but they're fun. And the show should be fun. And so I missed the mini challenge. They could have done, and what I actually love, my favorite mini challenges are when they shrink it down and we see almost none of the mini challenge, but we only see the funny lines. We only see the good lines. You only see RuPaul reacting to something funny that someone said offhand. Whether we're talking about them playing croquet with their crotch, or they're carrying around eggs and they're playing kids games, whatever, blowing a feather, whatever they're doing. I don't need to see the whole thing. I just need to see the highlights, a moment of joy, and then the winner gets to make the teams, and then maybe the teams pick their own thing. I think that would have, I don't know whether it was a time crunch that they were only going to give them a short period of time, so for me, that was right off the bat. We stepped off on the wrong foot, and I feel like the results, the performances, were reflective on the fact that they were given this really narrow box and then a really long time to perform it. So, oh, and then it was super, this is what's weird to me. So this thing with Cracker is still ongoing. I love Cracker from her channel. I do not feel that she's getting her feet underneath her, okay? Whether that is, she is responsible for keeping her own mental game going. I think there was some game, you know, for them saying that she was trying to get in someone's head, I think it was really the opposite. They were trying to get into her head, whatever. But this moment where I really do think Cracker was trying to do the right thing. I don't think it was the right choice. I think she should have done the way Shay and Alexis did, which is to say, I'm not even going to address it. I'm going to just be kind of shady about it, but we're going to get this challenge done. Cracker says to Blair, I heard that you were trying to get rid of me with Mayhem. And we kind of saw that moment. I mentioned that last week where I was like, I don't know why Mayhem and Blair are talking about Cracker when she's not on their team. Like, focus on your challenge. But I guess they included that clip, even if that was the only 5 seconds they talked, so that this made sense. And what was the weirdest to me was if Blair was not doing that, she'd be like, no, I don't know why Alexis said that. I'm just focused on the game. Let's just focus. Like, that was it. But she goes on this weird tangent about how she felt compromised and she needed her space. And yes, we're friends, but blah. And it was like very, like, a no would have sufficed. I don't know. It was very bizarre to me. But I feel like it's so indicative of this whole challenge. And then Juju B wins over the crowd by just being present in the moment, watching the two of them, and just saying something snarky, being like, oh, I feel like Juju B in the middle of a white bread sandwich. Oh my gosh, I loved it. I loved it. This is what we watch the show for. This is why we don't just see the final things, is for those moments. I know, I'm gushing all over Juju B, but I feel like Juju B was great in her season. She was my favorite. I had to go back and look. I know that in my memory, she's my favorite of her season. She was my favorite of, I loved her in All Stars 1, if I remember correctly. I'm sorry. I should look this up. But I just feel like every time I see Juju B, I fall more and more in love. And I feel like she's been due this recognition for so long. She should be up there with a Bianca Del Rio, a Ben de la Creme, a Trixie Akate. Now that's pretty high praise because those are some of my favorites. But I just feel like it's so neat for me to see everybody appreciating her the way I think that she really deserved. And it's a lovely moment. Oh, speaking of talking to the production. So when I found Mayhem really endearing when she said to the camera, I thought we were all going to get rid of Shay because she was the toughest competitor. I wish she had just said that to Shay. I wish she had just said that. When Shay said, well, why did you vote for me? I wish she had just said, Shay, you're like one of the strongest people here, and I was kind of excited to get you out of the way. Because I think Shay would have been like, okay, I don't like that, but it's true. Like, I mean, I think it would have just done her a favor. I didn't get, you know, my thought is kind of like, if you're called on it, you might as well say the truth. But Cracker's the example of like, but if you're not called on it, don't say it. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's just do it. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. I do not, this is for me an example. I very rarely ever say the phrase, don't hate the player, hate the game. because usually it's for something awful. But in this particular case, I don't like the rules of how they do All-Stars. I want to see the best, my opinion is I want to see the best queens move on. I don't want this to be some weird Survivor thing, but I've never held it against queens that have voted out someone strong. I'm upset because of how the game played out, but I don't necessarily think that they're evil. And so, so I don't hold it against her for playing the game the way that RuPaul tells them to play the game, essentially. So there you go. Oh, and then can I just talk about during the thing, were they green screened into that room? Because anywhere there was purple in the background, it was super, pink, that neon pink in the background was super weird because you could see Carson Kressley and Shea both were standing in front of it and they were all fuzzy along the end. And I was kind of like, why did you need to green screen them into an office? Like, that was just so bizarre to me. That, or it was just the pink did something weird on camera. I don't know. So that was a weird thing. So I thought Shea was better than Alexis, which holds out. Yeah, which holds out. But I thought they were the closest to sticking to the brief they were given. Alexis was definitely talking over, especially in an improv challenge. And we've seen it in the past. When you shut out your partner, it hurts both of your lines. So I don't think that she was the best partner in that. I thought Shea was better, but I felt like it was very much like, I do something, you do something. I do something, you do something. I do something, you do something. And it felt very much like they weren't building, they were just, do you know what I mean? I don't know, I explained it well. So I was like, okay, well, I don't really know. I thought it was solid. It was the closest to the premise. I didn't really get the difference between the two roles. So they were both fired, but for slightly different things, but to me, they almost seemed the same. Anyway, then India came out, and my note says, oh, then they did the drag you, and the first thing, so it starts off super song with like Cracker looking out the door, and then they like dropped an empty pill case, and I was like, is that going to come back? I think I was supposed to, because to me it was clearly empty and there was nothing on it, so when they were like, oh, it's, you know, forget about that, I think it was supposed to, I kept waiting for it to come back, but I guess that was the joke. And then we got one line about bribery and like Cracker trying to tuck. I just kept waiting for, I don't know, and it wasn't that they did bad. I was like, maybe I don't get it. Maybe I kept waiting for like a punchline. And I just felt like they were trying different things, and I guess they planned it out, and Blair was barely there, it felt like. She had one really great line. It just didn't feel, you know what I mean? Okay, but then we get to India, and first of all, with her breastplate, she needs, if that was a woman's real breast, I would tell her to go on Botched, because there were no nipples, and there were not nipples where there were supposed to be nipples. So she needs to have some reconstructive surgery and a major lift, because apparently the nipples were, I'm guessing that breastplate doesn't have nipples. I'm sorry, I'm weird about breasts, and I mention it all the time when the drag queens have weird breasts. So, but that's not her fault. And it started off really strong. Then Mayhem came out. I wrote Mayhem is good, and then I wrote WTF lick it, and I was like, what is this about licking? Is this supposed to be a lesbian joke? Is this a gay thing? I don't understand. I was like, what is going on? And then they wanted to lick it off the ground, and I was like, this is making me uncomfortable. Not that my comfort is the most important thing, but I was like, I do not get what's happening. We totally lost the whole shoplifting thing. The vase falling out from underneath the dress, solid joke. Solid, absolutely funny. But then they like wanted to lick it, and I was like, I thought we were done with this, and I didn't get it. And I was like, so when they got to the end of that, I was like, that was the challenge? Now, I really think, and I said it before, I think a lot of the reason that they failed was because instead of having them make their own groups, which is just always helpful, I don't see why, I guess it's to cut down time, but also let them come with their own ideas. They, you know, you can come up with, you know, like, oh, this is something I can do, so that'll be part of our narrative. And I felt like maybe they were too narrow. I was really confused. I was like, I don't know who's going to be in the bottom. I just don't know what's going on. Now then, Blair and Mayhem talk about their DUIs, and I want to thank Mayhem for being so honest. I think tying back into Mayhem's discussion about possibly being an addict, I think we're starting to see a line through Mayhem's life that I think she might be right. I appreciate them discussing the fact that they're expected to be the life of the party, and that life of the party means doing drinks and drugs, and then, you know, and then, okay, well, bye, just good luck with, you know, now functioning like a human. The story, she'll end up being arrested, is terrible. It's just awful. But I want to make sure that nowhere in this recap is it lost, that I appreciate Mayhem's honesty, and that I hope this becomes a better experience for you. I thought pretty much all the camo couture was good. They loved India's look. I wasn't crazy about it. You know, Blair and Shay were safe, and I was like, okay. I had no idea. They loved Juju and Cracker were on the top. I don't disagree so much as, to me, everything, I was going to write a friend. I didn't want to do a spoiler in case he wasn't watching it. And I was like, this whole episode for me was like, meh. The only thing I enjoyed was when the drag queens were really genuinely talking to each other. But the rest of it, I found a really hard time to differentiate quality and performances. So, Mayhem was real snappy on the runway. And I appreciate it because at the end of the episode, she talked to Michelle Visage and she was fully honest. Yeah, I was snappy. I was in the bottom. What did you expect? And I was like, that is a drag queen that I can get behind. Like, that is, be honest. I appreciate it. I love it. It's funny. I just enjoy it. There you go. So I want to fully in this moment say that I agree with, well, I kind of agree with Mayhem going home. Why did Mayhem vote for herself? And I kind of feel like every week, India kind of slides by, and it's not her fault. And so when people get like, it's not her fault that other people aren't voting for her, but I don't think it's doing her any favors, because the longer she's there and not standing out, it's a little hard. Don't know why Mayhem voted for herself. There you go. I didn't think she was the worst. I thought she was a little better. Anyway. But then the one thing she said is she's the last person I want to talk to is Cracker, and I thought, why is Mayhem so mad at Cracker? That was one thing I don't understand. Why were Blair and Mayhem so salty at Cracker? Oh, salty at Cracker. I just didn't quite understand why everyone is so mad at Cracker still in episode, what is it, 4? Yeah, why is everyone still mad? So I don't get it. There you go. Morgan McMichaels comes out. I don't have strong opinions about Morgan McMichaels. I do admit that her Queen of Hearts back in the day was a very good. So I saw people talking about the lip sync being bad before I saw the lip sync, and then I saw the lip sync and I was like, I don't know that it's bad. I don't know that. I feel like Rue's throwing a lot of double wins out that I'm always like, oh, okay. I just don't feel like they're real consistent. Like, I don't feel like the double wins are always given out when the double win is deserved. So, but, you know, not my money. Oh, I will want to say, though, that the biggest lie that drag queens say is that they all wear these thong leotards and they don't go disappear up their butt. And that is not reality. I wrote Mayhem is truthful and delightful. Really sweet moment in Untucked between Morgan and Mayhem. And I don't know. I am underwhelmed. Now, a lot of people are saying that, you know, this is an underwhelming season because 12 was so strong that in some ways All Stars feels underwhelming. I think maybe a few queens came in with an agenda about like, this is how we're going to handle it. No one's going to give me any gruff. And if they do, I'm going to show them. And I kind of feel like this Cracker moment is getting blown way out of proportion, and I feel like a lot of people are picking sides way harsher than they need to. I don't think Cracker should have said it. She also apologized, and it was 3 episodes ago. She's been, I feel, trying to make amends for it to her own, like, too much. Like, she needs to drop it too. It's not that, it wasn't that big of a deal, and if people have a problem with it, she should move on. That's my, someone said that last week, was it Nicole Byers was the judge who said, who cares? I agree, who cares? Like, just move yeah, so there you go. So that's my review. Sorry, I'm kind of a little rambly. I have all these thoughts going through my head and I just realized they're just not worth it. I'm loving, loving, loving Jujubee. I'm actually loving Jujubee so much that I kind of want her to win. If we're going to do a double win for anyone, let's do Shea Juju. Too early to call, but that would be my dream because Jujubee, I just want her to do everything. Like I just want to hear her talk, and maybe we could go on a road trip together and, you know, talk about people. I don't know, that's my life. But yeah, there you go. Hit me up, tell me, how have your thoughts changed coming in to now? Who are your top 3? Yeah, bye.